Russia issues a strong warning to the U.S., vowing an appropriate response if Ukraine uses U.S. long-range missiles to strike its territory. The Kremlin is vowing what it is calling a tangible response after Joe Biden gave Ukraine permission to fire U.S.-provided missiles into Russian territory. At a press conference on Monday, Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson, Maria Zakharova, told reporters, quote, Kiev's use of long-range missiles to attack our territory would mean a direct involvement of the United States and its satellites in military operations against Russia, as well as a radical change in the essence and nature of the conflict. The Kremlin has been warning against the move for months. In June, Vladimir Putin said Russia could retaliate by arming the U.S.'s enemies. That is a threat that he's repeated again on several occasions. A convoy of more than 100 aid trucks is looted in Gaza, according to the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees. And the U.S. House Ethics Committee will meet to discuss and potentially release its report on Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Torrential rain from Tropical Storm Sara has cut off more than 1,700 communities in Honduras. Honduran officials confirmed only one death, but said the storm has affected more than 110,000 people. Some areas have seen 500 millimeters or 19.7 inches of rain. Forecasters say Storm Sara is likely to further weaken as it moves over the south of Mexico. At least one person has died in the U.S. from E. coli that has been found in baby carrots. Many major grocery stores are recalling organic and baby carrots from the shelves. The CDC reported at least 39 cases across 18 states, 15 of which were hospitalized. Officials say while infected products are no longer in stores, consumers should toss what they have at home. The biggest U.S. budget airline, Spirit Airlines, says it is filed for bankruptcy protection in an effort to reboot after several shortfalls. The airline has lost more than $2.5 billion since the start of 2020 and faces debt totaling more than $1 billion in the next 2 years. Spirit says it will continue to operate normally during the bankruptcy process. One of the ballet world's leading male dancers has died at the age of 39. Russian ballet dancer Vladimir Shklyarov was a principal dancer with the prestigious Mariinsky Theater. Theater representatives say he fell from the 5th floor of a St. Petersburg building while on painkillers, though Russian media reports say federal authorities are still investigating his death. He's survived by his wife and a fellow company dancer and 2 children.
All 45 Hong Kong pro-democracy campaigners are jailed in the city's largest security trial, with sentences of up to 10 years so far. These are live pictures outside the courtroom. Now, thousands of demonstrators have gathered in New Zealand's capital to take part in a rally protesting a controversial bill that threatens to overhaul the country's founding document with the Maori people. Around 30,000 people attended this walk, with the issue dividing the country, which is known as a leader for Indigenous rights. It garnered international attention last week when this clip from New Zealand's parliament went viral, a Maori opposition MP initiating a haka in protest of the bill. Now, today's gathering is the culmination of a hikoi, a peaceful march that started at the top of New Zealand's North Island 9 days ago, ending today in Wellington. A new survey shows that parts of the Great Barrier Reef have suffered their biggest annual decline in coral cover since the study began almost 40 years ago. The report from the Australian Institute of Marine Science says much of the damage can be attributed to climate change-related extreme heat and cyclones. The French singer-songwriter Charles Dumont, who composed the French ballad Non je ne regrette rien, has died at the age of 95. Dumont was 27 when he wrote the song in 1956, which was later released in 1960. It topped the charts in France, Belgium, the Netherlands and Canada. The song expresses a wish to make peace with the past and start anew.
Hello there, 6 o'clock. Here are headlines today. Stabbed in the back. That's the verdict of the National Farmers Union on the Chancellor's plan to subject some farms to inheritance tax.
Good morning. I'm at a farm in Buckinghamshire where the owners are among the thousands about to descend on London, saying risk the viability of my farm, risk Britain's food security.
Higher prices and job losses. Retailers warn the government about increasing costs to their businesses.
Snow falls across parts of the UK and more is forecast as the country has its first taste of winter.
Good morning. It's currently snowing across northern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, North Wales and the Midlands. There's also the risk of ice on untreated surfaces, so some tricky travelling conditions to contend with this morning.
Here, the British Retail Consortium says it's inevitable that jobs will be lost and prices will rise because of tax increases being imposed on the industry next year. In a letter to the Chancellor today, it says the changes announced in the budget last month will cost retailers an additional £7 billion.
Let's have a look at today's newspapers, and we're going to start today with the Daily Telegraph. They're focusing on farmers. They say they have been told they must pay inheritance tax to fund the NHS, despite the protests expected in central London today.
And on that farmers' protest, the front page of The Sun is reporting that Jeremy Clarkson will be among those in Westminster. The former Top Gear presenter, of course, now has a farm in the Cotswolds, as seen on TV.
Yeah. The Mirror is looking at the conflict in Ukraine. It says Sir Keir Starmer has refused to rule out allowing Ukraine to use British long-range missiles to hit Russia. It comes after President Biden approved the use of US weapons.
And that continued disruption at British Airways leads today's Daily Mail, reporting that dozens of flights were disrupted overnight after what it describes as an IT meltdown. But it looks like things are now back to normal.
And just this morning, Zoe Ball has announced she is stepping down from her Radio 2 breakfast show after almost 6 years in the job.
Not immediately. She's going to remain at the station, but from next month she will no longer present her weekday morning programme. This is what she told listeners a short time ago.
I have some news. After 6 years of fun times alongside you all on The Breakfast Show, I've decided it's time to step away from the early alarm call and start a new chapter.
That early alarm call.
What a career.
Yeah.
6 years, 6 million listeners every morning.
Yeah.
Incredible achievement, and we're all going to miss Zoe, aren't we?
The most listened to breakfast show there is. She has done an amazing job.
She has. But fear not, Radio 2 listeners, because in the last few minutes it has been announced that Scott Mills will be replacing Zoe, I think, after Christmas.
Yeah, so Zoe carries on till late December with lots of Christmas fun and giggles and all the usual stuff, and then Scott will take over after that.
Good luck to Scott. What a gig.
What a gig, yes.
And he'll be
I think
brilliant.
they get up even earlier than we do.
Is that possible?
No.
Maybe Scott
We get up the
doesn't go
day
to bed.
before, yeah, it's terrible.
The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, will set out plans today to overhaul policing, including establishing a unit dedicated to improving performance. She's going to tell a conference of senior officers of the need to rebuild the public's trust and confidence in the work of police. Almost £2 million has been claimed under the Riot Compensation Act following widespread disorder across the UK during the summer. The Association of Police and Crime Commissioners says 88 separate claims have been registered for property that wasn't insured for riot-related damage, but the figures could change.
At 6, the tractors roll into Westminster as around 10,000 farmers turn out to protest against the government's inheritance tax plans. From 2026, controversial changes to inheritance tax mean many farms worth more than £1 million will have to pay. Among the protesters, one of the country's most famous farmers.
What is your message to this government?
Please back down, please.
Tonight I'm here on a farm in Gloucestershire, gauging reaction and trying to find out just how many farms will be affected.
And the other main stories on tonight's programme. Ukraine fires US-supplied long-range missiles at a target inside Russia for the first time, a day after Washington gave it the green light.
I've decided it's time to step away from the early alarm call and start a new chapter.
After 6 years at the helm, Zoe Ball announces she's stepping down from Radio 2's breakfast show. Scott Mills will take over. And our first taste of winter, with schools closed, trains delayed, and weather warnings of snow and ice in some areas.
Here's what's still ahead. The fight for compensation drags on for those sub-postmasters affected by the Horizon IT scandal. schools stay shut in Delhi as thick, toxic smog still blankets the city. Chelsea captain Sam Kerr shares her baby news with the world. Chelsea FC condemns the homophobic abuse that followed. An emotional episode of I'm a Celeb as former boxing champ Barry McGuigan opens up about losing his daughter.
And I'm at Yorkshire Wildlife Park this evening, where, like many of us, they've had their first snowfall of the season. With more snow in the forecast.
The Mayor promises to keep free primary state school meals for all pupils while he's at City Hall. But at what cost to London, as questions remain over how they'll be funded?
We'll be publishing our budget in due course and setting out confirmation that this policy will carry on next year.
Also ahead this Tuesday. Stopping Londoners getting caught short, the campaign to bring back more public toilets across the capital. Plus, how nightclubs are adapting to changing habits to help balance the books. And snow flurries in central London in November as the capital gets a taste of winter. Charges have been dropped against Zara Alina's murderer after a prison workshop instructor pleaded guilty to having an inappropriate relationship with him. Jordan McSweeney killed Zara as she walked home after a night out. Hayley Jones had admitted to misconduct in a public office over an inappropriate relationship with him at Belmarsh Prison. A post-mortem examination has found that a woman whose body was found in a car boot in East London died of strangulation. The body of Harshita Brella, who was from Corby in Northamptonshire, was found in Ilford on Thursday. The prime suspect is her husband, Pankaj Lamba, who detectives believe has fled the country. The London Cycling Campaign has released its latest data, mapping out the capital's most dangerous junctions. Top of the list is the Upper Tooting Road in Wandsworth. Campaigners say not enough is being done to protect the safety of cyclists. And a watch made for French Queen Marie Antoinette is to go on display for the first time in the UK at the Science Museum next month. The piece, which features rubies and sapphires, was intended to be worn by her, but she didn't live long enough to see it finished. And before we get to the weather, which of course is one of the big stories of the day, do you recognise these very famous shoes? They're one of only 4 surviving pairs of the original ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in the film The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and are going on display in London at the end of the month before being auctioned off in Los Angeles. In the end scene, of course, she clicks her heels 3 times, saying there's no place like home.